It's 11:47 p.m. You're exhausted. Your alarm is set for 6. And you are choosing, on purpose, not to go to sleep. One more episode. One more scroll. One more chapter you don't even need to finish tonight. You're not lying awake unable to sleep, that's insomnia, and this is something else entirely. You could fall asleep right now if you wanted to. You just don't want to. Not yet. There's a small, stubborn part of you standing guard over this exact moment, refusing to let it end. Tomorrow you already knows exactly how this ends. An alarm that feels like a threat, a coffee that doesn't quite work, a day spent running on fumes. Tonight you knows it too. And chooses one more minute anyway. There's a name for this, and you've probably used it against yourself. Revenge bedtime procrastination. The phrase went viral worldwide in 2020, translated from a Chinese term that means almost exactly that: revenge, taken out on your own bedtime, and it spread fast because so many people recognized themselves in it instantly. I have no self-discipline. I'm addicted to my phone. I just need more willpower. Those explanations all blame your character. But here's the problem. This exact pattern shows up in exhausted new parents, overworked nurses, students, CEOs, people with wildly different levels of discipline in every other part of their lives. A behavior that predictable, across that many different kinds of people, usually isn't a character flaw. It's a mechanism. And researchers have actually been studying it since long before it went viral online. Psychologists call it bedtime procrastination, going to bed later than you intended, with nothing external stopping you from going to bed on time. It was first studied and named in 2014 by researchers at Utrecht University, and one finding stood out immediately. People who scored lower on self-regulation went to bed later and lost more sleep, regardless of how busy their schedule actually was. That finding has held up since. Later studies, across different countries, keep landing on the same pattern. Later research on bedtime procrastination found something else. Self-regulation isn't a fixed personality trait you either have or don't. It's more like a battery. You draw it down all day, every time you force yourself to focus, hold your tongue, push through a task you don't want to do. By nighttime, for a lot of people, that battery is nearly empty. And an empty self-control battery is exactly the condition under which bedtime procrastination happens most. But a drained battery still doesn't explain the word revenge. Here's the piece researchers and sleep psychologists point to: low perceived control over your own time during the day. Think about your actual day. Meetings you didn't choose. Emails you have to answer. A calendar that fills itself before you even open it. A commute, a boss, kids, deadlines, hour after hour where your time technically belongs to someone else. Psychologically, humans have a basic need to feel like their choices matter, like their time is actually their own. When that need goes unmet all day, it doesn't just disappear at 5 p.m. It waits. And at night, when the demands finally stop and no one needs anything from you, your mind reaches for the one thing it can still control: whether you go to sleep. This has an actual name in psychology: psychological reactance. When a sense of control is threatened, people instinctively act to take it back, sometimes in ways that work against them. In the moment, it doesn't feel like sabotage at all. It feels like finally getting something back that was rightfully yours all along. Staying up isn't really about the show or the scroll. It's a quiet act of reclaiming time that felt stolen all day, even though the person stealing it back from you tonight is you. And it's not an accident that your phone is the tool of choice. Social apps and streaming platforms are built on variable rewards, the same unpredictable payoff structure as a slot machine. At night, with your self-control already depleted, that kind of reward becomes almost impossible to just put down. And this is where it turns into a trap. Right now, roughly 1 in 3 adults is running on less sleep than their body actually needs. That's not a small, easily ignored number. It's the majority of the people around you, running the same deficit you are. And short sleep doesn't just make you tired, it changes how your brain works the very next day. Under sleep loss, the connection between your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that regulates impulses and keeps emotions in check, and your amygdala, the part that reacts, weakens. Brain imaging studies have shown this directly. Less sleep, less top-down control, more raw emotional reactivity. Small annoyances start to feel bigger. Minor setbacks start to feel unfair. None of that is a personality change. It's a temporarily under-resourced brain. Which means tomorrow, you'll have even less self-regulation to set boundaries at work, to say no, to protect any real free time during the day, the exact resource that was too depleted last night to make you put the phone down in the first place. That reactive, depleted brain doesn't just affect focus. Either, it's the same shift that makes ordinary daytime stress feel harder to shake off, feeding the anxious, wired feeling this channel keeps coming back to. And there's a gut-brain piece too. Sleep loss doesn't stay in your head. Research tracking the gut microbiome alongside sleep has found that lower sleep efficiency lines up with lower gut microbial diversity, and gut diversity is tied to inflammation markers that themselves affect mood and stress regulation. So the cycle doesn't just repeat. It compounds: less autonomy, less self-control, less sleep, a more reactive brain, a more disrupted gut, and even less capacity to handle tomorrow, which sets up the exact same standoff at midnight, one more night. So telling yourself to just go to bed earlier almost never works, because it doesn't touch the actual cause. You cannot discipline a legitimate need for autonomy. What actually helps is claiming small pieces of that control back earlier on purpose during the day. Even 10 or 15 minutes of time that's genuinely yours, not a task, not self-improvement, nothing productive, just something you chose, taken sometime in the afternoon or early evening, measurably lowers the pressure to reclaim it later. That could be 5 minutes with a coffee on the porch, a walk with no destination, or texting a friend back for no reason at all. The content matters less than the fact that you picked it. Second, give your free time an actual place on the clock, earlier in the evening, instead of letting it quietly steal the slot reserved for bed. Decide in advance, from 9 to 9:45, this time is mine, and treat it like a real appointment, one that ends on purpose. This isn't about scheduling more tasks into your day, it's the opposite. It's protecting time with literally nothing required of it, which is exactly what's been missing. Third, build a short, physical transition between obligation mode and sleep mode. Even 5 minutes of changing clothes, dimming lights, putting the phone in another room, so your brain gets a clear signal that the switch is happening on your terms, not being taken from you. None of this is about more willpower at midnight. It's about paying the debt earlier, while you're still awake enough to actually collect it. If you've been staying up too late and calling it laziness, that's the wrong diagnosis. The diagnosis your mind keeps reaching for, lazy, undisciplined, addicted, was never accurate to begin with. It's not a discipline problem. It's a control problem, one your mind is trying to solve in exactly the wrong place, at exactly the wrong hour. Your body isn't broken, and your willpower isn't the issue. You just haven't been given your time back yet. Give yourself real ownership of a few honest minutes while the sun is still up and midnight stops feeling like the only hour that belongs to you.